So let's go ahead and get started as you guys continue to share in our group, on our page. I think the Lazare team page is also one of the streams. I believe so. So if you're on the Lazare team page, thank you for following our page. We have some awesome things that are coming up in 2022. Well, we've been talking about things we've been wanting to do. And so we're pretty excited about what's coming. So make sure you stay connected to us. All right. So Bishop, what are we going to talk about today?
Oh, today we're actually going to start talking about, how to use momentum literally in order to get our leadership aim. And so that's going to be the crux of what we're going to be dealing with primarily the rest of this week. How to establish our leadership aim. What that means is how to hit that target every time. We mentioned that last night, but the next few nights, we're going to give you some nuggets, some insight, some information that's really going to hone in that you're not doing this by happenstance or just trial and error, but we're really going to give you some concrete information so that you can start hitting your target every single time. That's what we're going to be doing because momentum is going to be the key in the undercurrent that's going to help you to do that. So that's going to be what the crux is going to be for the next few nights. So we're excited about the information that we're going to share.
Okay, so as we get ready to start this lesson, I just got a message that there is no way to share if you're in the group. If you want to get out of the group and go to a page, if you want to go to the Lazare team page or you want to go to the Light Center page, because we did not know that. So you can do that so that you can share this live. So we apologize. Facebook limits, quite a few things in the group. So we were not aware of that. So you can go to the Lazare team page or you can go to the Light Center page, TLC. We're streaming on both of those. You can jump on that and then you're able to share. So thank you for letting us know that.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So as we get ready to start today, let's go here. Hope you're ready to take notes. Whether you take them in your phone or write them down. Let's start with this. Leadership is a privilege. And, when I'm talking to you guys, I want you guys to give me feedback. Leadership is a privilege. It is not something that we take and just make the assumption that I deserve to be a leader. It is a privilege and an honor to lead others. Okay. And so as you're thinking about that, because I want you to think about it, I want you to put it somewhere, because if you are a leader or you're becoming a leader, that means God trusts you. And I need you to write that somewhere. God trusts you, that you're going to do the right thing with the people that he has put under your tutelage. And so we need to be aware of that God trusts me. Lay hands on yourself and God trusts me. And so sometimes we don't trust ourselves to do the right thing. But if he put it in you, you need to know that he trusts you. Now, with that, leadership starts where you are. So you don't wait until you get this big position to become a leader. Wherever you are right now is where leadership starts. So whether you are a youth, a young adult, or older, wherever you are, leadership starts right where you are. So I need you to put that in the comments. Leadership starts where I am. And so we need to be really aware of that. Are you guys learning something already? That leadership starts wherever I am. This is evident even with Joseph. If you know a little bit about the scriptures, we'd like to hear the story about Joseph, who was sold, his brothers sold him into slavery. Well, if you know just a smidget about the story, is that every place where Joseph found himself, he found himself in a position of leadership. So can you imagine becoming a slave and being a leader in slavery and then going to jail and becoming a leader in jail? So that's what happens when it's in you. It's in you. You cannot hide. You cannot cover it up. It is there. For some of you, people probably point you out and it makes you upset because you're like, why do people always want me to lead? Why do people always put my name on stuff? Because they see it. Come on, do y'all hear? Because they see it. It is recognizable. So I want you to think about that as we start really teaching this part today. And lastly, own it. I need you to own it. The thing that you've been given responsibility over, own it. Say it to yourself. I've got to own it. The thing that has been placed in my hand, you've been designed to carry it. You've got to own that thing, all of it, even the components we might not like. One of the things I realized is that much of my past, things that I've encountered, is tied to that leadership gift. It is tied to the thing that I'm called to. So we want to encourage you with that today as we continue. Are you guys enjoying this already? Own it. I got to own it, right?
Own it. And they're putting it on there that you got to own it. Definitely, Dr. Di, is the fact that you so many times we get caught up in the title that we wait on the title to match our capabilities or to match our position or our ability. But like you said in the beginning, that it starts where you are, and you're absolutely right. So we have to forego that. And Joseph was the perfect example. As you said that, I like to transition here and say that inspiration will not replace revelation. As you own it, one of the things that we have to understand is that we get so caught up in being inspired, but the fact is, you need revelation, you need the insight, and you need the content and context of what you're going to be doing, and not just go on inspiration. Because inspiration, all it is, in a car, for example, is the starter. Once the starter starts the engine, the starter has no other role. So inspiration gets you started, but inspiration cannot carry you all the way through. That you need the revelation in order to continue the assignment or continue the journey that you've been put on as a leader. And so that is a very key thing. Don't you think so?
Yeah, most leaders get stuck. They get stuck at inspiration, because it is nice. It's a beautiful thing to be inspired, guys. Okay, we all can inspire others, and we're inspired by others, but you can't get stuck there. And that's where a lot of leaders stop. They don't realize that you got to take that and you got to get a revelation or an understanding. Revelation simply means understanding, okay, of what it is that you're to accomplish with the knowledge that you received. We get emotionally attached through inspiration, but after that, you're like, okay, where do I go from here? Which leads us to what we want to talk about today is application. So the first letter in the AIM. If you've ever been in our teachings before, we like to talk about leadership AIM. The acronym is not always the same. So please don't, dismiss us or get ahead of thinking that we're going to talk about the same things, because we are not.
That's right.
This time we're using the A for application. If you've been with us before, we've used it for all sorts of things, but it's still about hitting that target, okay? So we want to start with application. Application means what to do. What do I do with what's in my hand? What do I do with what's in my head? Okay? Because we can get a lot of information and content and we don't know what to do with that. So as leaders, application, what do I do with this thing that I have? You can have a beautiful vision. You can have a great idea, but if you don't know what to do with it, you will be stuck. And then you will become frustrated by the thing that's supposed to be a gift and a blessing to you. Can y'all receive that today? So we're going to go through these 4 steps. We're going to give you 4 steps of application. So there are a couple of things that I do want them to put up on the screen that they will share with you. And so if the team has it, you'll see it come up. And then, because I want you to be able to document some of this, okay?
That's right.
So 4 steps in application. Let's begin right here. I need you to write this quote down. Most people are overexposed and underdeveloped.
Wow.
I need you to write that down.
Yeah.
Most people, including us, are overexposed and underdeveloped. And what that means is that we have an abundance of information everywhere. We have information overload. The smartphones alone can do everything. So we're exposed to so much, but we're still underdeveloped. And as Bishop and I were speaking about it, I said, it amazes me that we have an abundance of Bible translations, all kind of translations I never heard of when I was growing up, but very few people know scripture. And so I said, we have more knowledge, but we have less understanding. I mean, Bishop,
Absolutely.
do you agree?
Yes, yes. It's amazing that you see this trend happening in all aspects. As we were talking even today, you even see the fact in my industry, you see people getting out of school sooner, getting degrees, coming out of high school with college, background, but then when you go into the workforce, that they are underdeveloped. It's almost like they went through school too fast, that it didn't have time to uh to process the information or to absorb it. You see it in all aspects. You have much more access to information, but you are underdeveloped. You see it, that there's a lack of execution and a lack of application of the information. Is that it's full of content, but the application is lacking. And so I think the 4 steps in the application is really going to help us to understand how to do that.
So before we get into that, I want to speak to what you just said. I think we're in a stage or in the age of abbreviating everything. I mean, come on, online. Can you all agree? We make everything shorter and easier for us to be able to access it. But I think in some of that abbreviation, we've left some steps out. So when you talk about the education moving faster, because we get degrees much faster now, you don't do it in 4 years, you get it in 3 years. Kids are graduating with a degree, and sometimes they're graduating early, which can be a great thing. But if maturity level is not where it needs to be for them to go to the next level, they still won't be able to apply what it is they're learning. I mean, do you all? I think
Yes.
this is true, especially what I've observed, and I know some of them online. You guys probably have observed some of the same thing. It is information overload, and you can only process so much. So I think you're absolutely right. While we're seeing some of the struggle, that they have the content, but they don't have the ability to apply it appropriately, which is what we're going to talk about today. So
Absolutely.
number one in the 4-step application is to know your subject and to know yourself. And I need you guys to write this down, because you need to know your subject, whatever it is that you feel you are called to do, ordained to do, whatever you like to do, whatever you want to call it today. Because this isn't all about ministry, but it definitely includes ministry. You got to know your subject. You got to take the time to know your subject, but you got to know yourself. How do you relate to the subject? Most of the time, we don't even mirror, and that's the second one, our experiences to whatever it is we feel drawn to. Number one is know your subject and yourself. Number 2 is to relate your experiences to your subject and yourself. How did my life history, the things I encountered, how did it prepare me to become an expert in the industry? How did it prepare me to become better and stronger and wiser? What is my difference? What is making me, stand out a little bit more? And so I think when we start looking at it that way, we realize that we've actually been being prepared all along. That it didn't just happen at your education or your vocational training or whatever, training that you received, as it pertains to your area.
I think that is so key, and I'm excited about it because been observing it over the years, but as we're teaching it, it's becoming so and so relevant. I don't want to get too much in the scripture, but even the Bible talks about that in order to become a leader, you cannot be a novice. If you
Right.
desire the office of leadership, you cannot be a novice. And there's so much weight being put on, I know the subject, but the relationship between the subject and yourself is so key. And the other thing that I like to also add is the study the trends. What that means is that you have to study the people that have done it before you, that there's great wealth of experience, and that's number three, great wealth of experience that have come before you. You're not the first one to do this. And so you need to understand that, you may be the first one to do it in this way, but under the context of what you're doing in leadership, that is not new. And so you need to learn to study, and to become aware and intimate with history and with what is going on. And also, how does it relate to your culture and how does it relate to your environment? All of that is part of trending, is to understand how what you've been given and how with you and your personality, how does it relate to with the times that you've been released and ordained to do this. And
I,
so
I wanted to jump in here because I think the trends help us stay relevant. When you understand the trends, and I know we call it fads, but when you understand the trends, you understand your audience,
that's
because
right.
we're called to an audience. And if you don't understand what the trends are, what it is that they're looking for, or the way that they receive, then you will actually offer something that is antiquated. It is
That's right.
outdated. It might not be wrong, but it is the way that we are delivering it that it might not be appealing. Let me just put it like that. So that's why you have to know your trends as well.
Absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely.
Number 4 is our practice. We're going to speed up a little bit here. Number 4 is we must practice. So remember, number 1 is to know your subject and yourself. Number 2 is to relate to your personal experiences. Number 3 is to study your trends. Number 4 is to practice. You
Mm-hmm.
must practice. If you have a vision, you have ideas, you got to put it into action. That's what we mean by practice. Okay. So I want to make sure that those are clear. We're going to move a little bit faster, guys, because we don't want to go too much over our time.
Okay. Perfect. Perfect. So now let me put this statement out here. There's a quote: as a leader, you are either an asset or a liability to your organization. As a leader, you are either an asset or a liability to the organization. How do you determine which one you are? Is how you apply those 4 steps.
Excellent.
How you apply those 4 steps that we just gave you will help you either emerge as an asset or you emerge as a liability.
Wow.
Whether it is, regardless of the sect that you're in, regardless of the environment or the industry that you're dealing with, as a leader, you're going to be one of 2 things. You cannot be both. You're going to be one of 2 things. And you have to determine that. And those 4 steps help you to understand which one you are.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's move from that. Evaluate yourself. Either I am a liability or I am an asset. And I love that we have complete control of which one that we are. So I
Absolutely.
do love that. So let's go as we continue in application. There are 4 more points we want to share with you. We're very content driven. If you don't know, you know by now that these lives are really to give you some real tangible things to use in your leadership. And if you like this, then I want you to imagine what it's going to be like during leadership conference.
That's
By now,
right.
you know that leadership conference is December 3rd and 4th. It is M3. Come be in the house. If you can be here, because I know that there's going to be a different oil. So if you like this kind of stuff, I mean, you want some real concrete stuff. I realize there are a lot of people out there that are giving out stuff, no shade, but I really want to take this time to invest in you and you invest in yourself. So this is just a snippet, guys, and it's just 2 of us. We have dynamic people that are coming, to join us. So make sure you register. Thank you for those that registered last night. We had a nice amount of people that decided to jump on that. So I do want to drop that nugget right quick. Shameless plug, right? Shameless plug. So I do need to do that because we have a early bird rate that's really not so early. We have a special rate of $77 right now. It ends tomorrow midnight, and then it goes to our regular rate of $97. $20 is a big difference. You can buy some food with that, guys.
That's right.
So I want you to really invest. Take this time and say, hey, it's worth it. I need to take some tangible stuff that you're able to get here. If you can't register online, I promise you're not going to miss anything. Okay. So with that shameless plug, I'm going to jump back into this real quick, right? So I want to talk about, as we talked about application, gave you 4 ways to apply or 4 ways to identify application. I want to talk about some substitutes for application, because oftentimes we do things that we use substitutes for application unaware. And so we thought it was necessary to bring those things out so that you know some things you might be doing that's preventing you from really knowing what to do with what you have or how to apply it appropriately. So number 1 is misinterpretation. And I want you to write this down too, because I want you guys to go back and study this stuff. One of the substitutes for application is misinterpretation. What I mean by that is we have incomplete knowledge or we misuse information. What does that mean? Sometimes we can watch somebody else on a live, or we can look at somebody else's success, and we apply it to ourselves. We compare it to ourselves. We don't have all the information really to say, hey, we're comparing apples and apples and not apples and oranges. So we have misinformation, and we use that in lieu of real application. And it causes us to really be behind the 8 ball, or it causes us not to be successful in the way that we really could be, because we don't have all the information needed. You guys understanding that? So I need you to make sure you put number 1, a substitute for application. I will not misinterpret what is given to me, what has been placed in my hand. Why do I have this gift? Why am I in this office or this position? I won't misinterpret that. So I have to understand and get great understanding so that I could move, and I could progress in a healthy manner. Does that make sense?
That makes sense.
All right, let's do number 2.
Number two is partial commitment. And what that means, it's applying concepts to areas where we already use it and not to areas where it's really needed. What does that mean? What that means is that you focus on an area that is working for you, but you ignore or neglect parts in it and don't invest time and resources to an area that you need to develop. And so, plain and simple, if you are a basketball player, let's say, and you're good shooting 3-point shots, so the only thing you practice is 3-point shots because you're good, but you are terrible at free throws. So now when it comes to free throws, you are awful, and the game now comes down to you hitting free throws to win the game. Are you going to be an asset, or are you going to be a liability? That is determined by partial commitment, which means that you focus on your strength and you neglect your weaknesses, and you have to be balanced. So partial commitment does not allow you to have that balance so that you can be ambidextrous. What that means, that you can handle leadership from whichever side that it comes from. And so that is the thing with partial commitment. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. So number 1 is misinterpretation. Number 2 is partial commitment. Number 3 is rationalization, guys. So rationalization, and I want you to understand this, is to, and let me say this carefully, it is to justify where you are. What does that mean? When we justify not progressing, just like we justify being above others who might not be on the same level as us. So we compare ourselves and we say, hey, I'm not Bishop Jakes, so I don't have to be Bishop Jakes. Well, if you have the resources to operate like Bishop Jakes, you should be on the same level. So you don't compare yourself to somebody who has different resources and a different call than you do. So sometimes we rationalize our lack of growth and our lack of movement based on who we're comparing ourselves to. It is a substitute for application. It will stop you from going deeper. It will stop you from really paying attention and reaching within your reservoir and say, there is more of me that I can bring to the table, because I'm comparing myself to somebody who does not have the resources that I do. Are y'all receiving this today? This is some good stuff, guys. You got to get this. So that is number 3, a substitute that we use for application. And number 4 is emotional encounters. Emotional encounters are engaging during emotional highs. So I got to say it like this. I'm a pastor, so this is no shade on pastors, okay? But this is like you go to church and you get a prophetic word about your future, something you knew already, and you get all excited about God says this, and you are moving toward it as long as you're on that high. But when you're not on that high anymore, you have no follow through. Okay, you have no follow through. That's what a substitute for application is. You ride those emotional highs when somebody speaks well of you, or you get a word, or you go to a conference, or something that gets you all motivated and inspired, but there's no plan to follow through. That's number 4. That's the problem we have. Thank you. They put that up. One of the substitutes for application. So now you have all 4. You can take a snapshot of it if you didn't write that down. Misinterpretation, partial commitment, rationalization, and emotional encounters. Can we go just a little bit further?
Just a little further.
All right. So when you look at this, applying substitutes, all of us have done it, or all of us do it. Please don't feel bad. We just needed to be aware of what's stopping me from using the knowledge and power that I have, because something is stopping me. Something is stopping you, and you need to be honest about it. Say, yes, sometimes I stop myself, or people don't believe. It's beyond that, because we have so many resources, so many things that we could apply in our lives, but there's really something that's stopping us. And one of them is discipline. That's that word. Discipline. Say it with me. Discipline. I know you don't want to say it. I know you don't want to say it, because discipline has a bad reputation. I need y'all to put that in the comments. Discipline has a bad reputation, but it is good for us. It is good for us. And so we really do have to use discipline so that we can apply what we have learned, what we have gained, what is put in us, what is deposited, every gift, every calling, every business idea. We need discipline to put it in action. Okay? Because we cannot expect for it to happen one time and then that's going to be it. You got to keep moving toward that thing. You got to practice it until you experience manifestation. Now, this is what I need you to write. This is the prophetic side of me. Those of you that know, I'm a prophet of the Lord. I love every opportunity to prophesy. So listen, I'm going to try not to go too far, but I want you to know this. Discipline is prophetic. I need you to write that down. Discipline is prophetic. Why? Because it points to your future. It points to your future. What does that mean? I know kids don't discipline, parents don't discipline kids anymore. I understand that. But the reason you do, or I was disciplined, let me just talk about me and my parents, because I don't want any emails or letters, it's because they saw my future. They wanted me to detour from some things that I could have gotten, caught up in. But discipline is prophetic. It speaks to my future. When you are disciplined And whatever it is God is putting your hand to do, whether it is a business, whether it is a ministry, a call-in, whatever you want, if you are disciplined, it will speak to where you're going. Come on, I feel Jesus in here.
Right. That's
It will prophesy to where you are going if you will implement that. Bishop, what you think?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Now, you know, I love the dirty D. That's what they're saying, the dirty D, discipline. Now, there are 3 ways to incorporate discipline in application. As you're developing and applying your leadership, discipline is incorporated in 3 ways. Okay. And I need you to write these down. Number 1 is how you see, and that's our perceptions. You know, how you see things will determine how you deal with it. Number 2 is how you process. How you see will determine in your process and how you will, absorb that information, what, things you will do with it, how you will prepare yourself, how you will engage. And then number 3 are actions. The things that you do, what you do as a leader will be determined by discipline. And even as we go back, Prophetess, to what we were talking about in the beginning about being overly, and I'm glad that they put this up there for us, the perceptions, our processing, and our actions. How we perceive things, how we process it, and how we act on it are 3 ways to incorporate discipline in application. And so even as we talk about this earlier in the presentation, when we were talking about being over, having more information but underdeveloped, discipline is what allows you to take the content and now process it and become developed. Yeah. Discipline is how you become the great leader that you are called to be. Because what discipline will do, it will cause you not to move too fast, not to think too highly of yourself, not to move ahead of your development, and allow you to learn what you need to learn and become intimate and relate to your information and your assignment so that you can be successful. Okay. That is the thing that discipline does. It's almost like a governor to your momentum. And so that you don't go too fast and then you don't go too slow, but you're going at the right speed so that you can develop into what you're called to do. That is the key about discipline. I love discipline because discipline, like you say, it has that reputation. It's so essential for our development and our application as leaders. It is so key.
I'm laughing because you say you love discipline. Do you? Because I don't love discipline.
Well, you know what? I love talking about discipline. Doing discipline is another thing. Don't be calling me out. Don't be calling me out.
I'm calling me out. I'm calling me out because I'm like, I don't love it. I live by it and I do it because I see the end result. And I know it's necessary for us. Now, we're not going to stay on that, guys, but we definitely wanted to drop that in there, that it is absolutely necessary. So, hey, let's do quickly our call to action because there are a couple more things we want to give to you at the end. And I realized I did the call to action too late last night because you guys just jump right off. And so it's like the people who get the good stuff after the credits on a movie, on those Marvel movies, they have like extra scenes. I always miss them. So listen, call to action. The reason we do this is because if you don't invest anything in this, we can sit here, we can deposit, we can share, but if you don't apply it to you, you won't retain it and it won't benefit you. So they're going to put that call to action screen up because I believe I sent that. And so we want to just tell you quickly, write down what this is, and we're going to get back into the rest of this because we do have a couple more points that we want to give you that you do not want to get off this line without getting those points. So we want you to choose a theory from tonight. We're giving you nice, concrete content. Choose a theory from tonight's teaching, and we want you to explain in 2 ways you will apply this theory in your leadership. This is about you and you only. Choose one theory and share with us 2 ways you can use that one theory in your own leadership. And we want you to hashtag this M3 experience. Now, if you're real bold, I want you to do a video. Okay, so if you can handle that, do a 2-minute video. Y'all, y'all be taking them selfies and everything anyway. Use that video. Say, you know what? I'm going to go live, or I'm going to just video this and put it out there. You will probably be blown away at how many people you will touch by you doing that. And we're going to talk about that tomorrow, because we're going to be talking about influence. Okay. So make sure this call to action, you do it. If you don't want to do the video, don't do it. Just go ahead and write it up. You don't have to put it inside the group. You can put it anywhere on social media and we will find it. We will find it and we will share it. So if you choose to put it in the group, do so. If not, just put it wherever you want to put it. Just make sure you hashtag it properly. M3 experience, so we can find you, because we are going to do that. We're going to spin that wheel, pull some names, and we're going to give away some things at the end just for you participating. See, this is sponsored, but we're going to bless you just for participating. So I wanted to make sure that I got that in there. Okay. Okay, so now let's go. Let's continue in our journey. So the next things we want to give you are 5 questions to ask in application. Why this is important? Because as Bishop talked about discipline, we've navigated through, okay, what is application? And then we've talked about now that being disciplined to apply. So I want to give you 5 questions you got to ask yourself. These are 5 questions that we ask ourselves before we engage in anything. So you got to ask yourself, or you'll jump from live to live or challenge to challenge if you don't use these questions to make sure, is this for me? Can we do this right quick?
Yes.
Okay. So number 1, is there an example to follow? That's the first thing you have to ask yourself. When you say, okay, I want to do X, Y, Z, ask myself, is there an example to follow? Is there somebody already doing what it is I want to do, or what I feel I am designed or assigned to do? Is there somebody else doing it? Is somebody close? You know, it doesn't have to be identical, but is the concept the same? And can I learn something from them that I don't have to reinvent myself? So, number 1 question, is there an example to follow?
That's right. And so we're going to transition into question number 2, is there a condition to be met? And so therefore, as you are, looking at the application, is there a condition? Is there an output? Is there, a situation that needs to be met with this assignment? That is extremely key. So as you're looking at the example, you're looking at, is there a condition also that needs to be met? I think that is ultra important. And as we transition, Dr. Dot, the next one is, uh, do I have the tools and skills required? This is where you have to be honest with yourself. That if you don't have the skills and you don't have the tools, it doesn't mean that you're not the leader, that you're not the one that is ordained or assigned for this. It just means that you have to go learn, because the true essence of leadership is that you have to put yourself in a continual learning mode. And so you have to go and find the tools, and you have to find the skills, especially in this era that things are evolving so much. What you thought you knew and the skills you thought you had 10 years ago are no longer relevant. And so you have to go and acquire what skills are relevant for you. Even in my own industry, I'm an engineer by trade. And so the things that I learned in school are just theory, but they don't work in application today. it's a totally different scenario that I have to continuously learn so that I can be successful and be effective in my own industry today. So, do I have the tools and skills required to do the assignment that is on my life?
Number 4, is there a challenge that I face? So sometimes we jump into things without evaluating. Are there some obstacles? Are there some things that's preventing me from getting it done? And so those are things that you really have to pay attention to as we navigate through these questions. Is there a challenge? And how do I address this challenge? You don't stop and not do it because you have a challenge, but you learn, what do I do at this place? How can I navigate around it? And how can I still be successful? Number 5, what is the expected result? You have to know, what is the end supposed to look like? Okay. Sometimes people won't evaluate because they're afraid that it might not turn out to be what they expect. Well, you don't want to get to the end and realize you don't have enough. I think scripturally it dealt with who count up a cost before you build, right? You got to pay attention and have an expectation and say, when I get to the end, this is what I expect to happen. This is what I expect to see. Even as far as us doing this challenge, we have an expected end. Our goal is for people to really reach their potential, to be motivated, to be inspired, but more than that, to really become active. That is our goal. And if we can get some testimonials from people say, hey, I took those theories, I applied it to my life, and this is where I am right now. Those are tangible things that we can measure. We need tangible outcomes. People, leaders, we pray, we shout, we worship, and we need tangible outcomes. Everything is not spiritual. I know y'all gonna hang up on me for saying that, but everything is not spiritual, okay? Yes, God leads us and he guides us, but he allows us to experience manifestation. And so I want to encourage you guys that you need to be able to have some tangible proofs that he is with you. Oh, I think I lost some people with that, guys. I don't think they feeling me too much with that, Bishop.
That's okay.
So we're gonna move on. So we're gonna move on. Now, Bishop, there's a quote that we have here. It says, we live in a society where it's more sufficient to buy instead of building. I think this relates to what we just finished talking about, those questions, the discipline, the application. Can you speak to that for a second?
Absolutely, I would love to. And the thing about it is, we're in this society now where we want the quick results. We want the overnight success, and the way I think about it is kind of sports teams. You have some sports teams that will go and buy the best players for each position and think that that's going to help them win. But what we've seen throughout the years is that it never works. Why? Is that there is no chemistry between all of the best players on the same team. The most successful teams are the ones that build and learn together and develop through discipline on how to play as a unit. And those are the teams that often come through and are champions, in essence. And so the society that we live in today, that's the mantra that is going on, is that people just feel like, instead of going through that, I'd rather just buy it rather than building it. Our old pastor used to say this all the time, that it's best to take the stairs sometimes instead of the elevator, because you build endurance going up the stairs. Right. And so that is the thing that I think about when I think about this quote, is that we need to learn to build, because when you build, it's longer lasting and it won't be fleeting. When you buy, then you're left to how long that what you buy is going to be committed to you. That comes in buying friends, that comes in buying access, that comes in, yes.
Wait. You said buying friends. People do that?
People do that. People do that. They buy it. And so they buy it. And when you buy it, then you're left up to the temperament of the person as to whether they want to stay with you or not. But when you take the stairs, when you build, and when you are authentic in who you are and be disciplined and apply these principles, I believe that that's when you're going to see the greater you come forward.
So, for those of you that don't know us, Bishop and I have been in ministry. We've been pastors for 20 years. We've been married for 34, been together for 37. So there comes times that we disagree. This is one of those times that we're going to disagree, and we're going to disagree on this live. So,
Let's go ahead.
so listen, I understand what it is you're saying. I personally think there comes a time that you need to buy, and I think there comes a time that you need to build. Because if all of us build, this is the problem with supply and demand, and what the problems we have going on now with the supply chain. We have an abundance of need, but not enough people who are producing. So I think we need both. I think we have some people that are builders. If you are called to be a builder, then you need to be a builder. That's where the apostles come in. Their job is to build and establish. But if we don't have enough people who are operating in that apostolic mandate, which is across the board, we have apostles in the marketplace as well. So I'm not being deep and talking about church. We have apostles, people who are called and who are designated to build. Okay. And so when you understand that, that's where you flow. But we also have people who are consumers. We're to buy. We are design. We have wealth. And so whatever products that are being brought forth, our design is to purchase. That's what keeps society moving forward. So I don't think we're supposed to be all or none. I hear you and I understand, but we just have to know the difference when we should be buying and when we should be building so that we can keep ourselves balanced. I mean, did you get that, sir?
I got that. I think we still agree, though. We still agree. I understand your point. We still agree. I was thinking of it from the perspective of development, of your personal leadership development.
Right. I understand that.
But I could understand how some people may take that to an extreme, and that there are opportunities to build or to buy. And so I agree with you as well. So we still flowing.
Well, I use I'm going with your analogy of the football, of the sports.
Yes.
That's what I went with when you said that they prefer to buy. And I think sometimes if you don't have it within, do you have the liberty to go out and buy? But if you have it within, then as a leader, it's your responsibility to build within. Absolutely. I think you can do that, but that's not always, the option. It still goes back to knowing when. What do y'all do? Are y'all agreeing with us that, you have to know when to do both? Because some people, they're not builders. They're not. And they try and nothing works for them. And they're frustrated because they're following somebody else's model. True. And they're trying to be starters and they don't have an anointing to be a startup. They don't have an anointing to initiate. You have to be gifted to start a thing. Oh, see, y'all got me flowing in a different vein. I'm about to move on and get off here because I have not had dinner and I'm not going in that vein right here. But I'm telling you, I feel that thing. Y'all feel us flowing?
Yes. I love it.
Okay, so we have 2 more points and we're going to get off because we realize we're almost at the hour mark.
Again. Again.
Oh my God. Please help us, Jesus. This will have me get 2 preachers. Okay. So one of the things we want to give you right now are the 3 C's to leadership application. There are 3 C's. You see, we're giving you 5, 3. We're giving you these points so that you can follow them. There are 3 C's to leadership application. We feel these are so important, which is why we told you, please don't hang up without getting the entire presentation. Okay. 3 C's to leadership application. Number 1, content. Say that with me. Content. Leadership application. You got to evaluate the data, the raw data, not evaluating people's personality, not evaluating their ideas. Now, the raw data. Will this work for me? Can I use what it is that they're selling? Because if you don't, you will find yourself frustrated and aggravated trying to make something work that's not designed for you. I know I'm preaching in here right now. Content.
That's right. Content. All right. Number 2, I'm going to follow you up with the content and I'm going to go with culture. Culture is number two. So I need you to write that down as well. Culture, seeing against the right background. Not only must you evaluate the content, but can this work in the place where I am assigned to do it? And so if it does not flow in the place where I am assigned to do it, then it won't work for you.
Right.
You cannot do it because your culture is not conducive for it. You cannot live in a winter state and you're trying to plant palm trees. It will not work. It is a different culture. Palm trees need tropical culture to grow in. And so you cannot plant palm trees in winter areas. It's just a different culture. So
No
you
matter
need
how
to
much you
make
pray
sure,
over them.
no matter how much you pray, no matter how much zinc and how much fertilizer you put in there, it will not grow in that area because it's not conducive to that culture.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah. I like that. I want to jump on this because this is a problem I see, and we're almost done, guys. This is a problem I see in ministries. Okay. And as a pastor for 20 years, I know I've had to deal with this, that sometimes people's feelings get hurt when they try to implement their ideas that are not conducive for the culture that we are in. Our church is in an area that is considered an urban area. So it's certain things that happens in our area or with our ministry that we might not be able to do in other areas. Okay.
Right.
And so you have to really be aware. Sometimes people's feelings get hurt because their ideas are not implemented. It's not that we don't like your ideas and all of that. And I'm saying this for everybody on here. You may be experiencing the same thing even on your jobs. It's not that your ideas are bad. You really have to look, is this conducive for the culture? Will this be effective? Because you can take a good thing, really a good thing or a great thing, and put it in the wrong place and it will not be effective.
That's right.
And imagine what that will do to your self-esteem, and also to the reputation of whatever organization you are a part of. That's right. I just wanted to jump in there with that, evaluate the culture. Everybody should do that. You should evaluate the culture. So whatever business that you're starting. The last one is consultation. Number one is content. Number two is culture. Number three is consultation. That's the teacher in me, guys, that just repeats that stuff like that. I'm sorry. I ain't trying to say y'all slow or nothing. That's the educator in me. That consultation is the last thing on the 3 C's to leadership application. If I'm going to apply this, know my content, know my culture, and did I consult with somebody? We say that because everything that we're engaged in, there is somebody in the world, in the earth, who understands what it is you're trying to do. Somebody in the world can relate to you. And I think we can learn from other people. I don't know what it is in our culture that makes us feel like we don't need anybody. It makes us feel like I'm going to get an extra ruby in my crown. If I do this by myself, then nobody can take credit. No. But the way God formulated us and put us, we are to be helpers one to another. We're to complement each other. That's why you may have part of something I need, and it brings us together. So consultation is using secondary resources. Use those resources, guys. Use them. It will save you a lot of headache and heartache if you will pay attention to those who are around in your circle, those you have access to, and maybe those you don't. Send them a letter. DM them. How did you do this? How can I experience this? Some people will share their ideas with you. Yes, you have some people who don't want to share anything, but we're not even focusing on that. No. We're focusing on those that they know that part of their assignment in the earth is to help raise up and empower another leader. That's right. Who we're focusing on. Can y'all receive that in Jesus' name?
That's right. That's right.
Amen. All right.
And so as we get ready to end, want to give you one of the quotes. It says, bad choices and ministry and business with no repentance creates a stumbling block to those who watch our walk. So those who watch our walk look at our bad choices, and we, without adjustment, you create a stumbling block for people that are watching you. So as a
Wow.
leader, what you need to understand is that as a leader, whether it's by position or whether it's by function, that you are in a magnifying glass. People see you differently because of that mantle that is on you.
Wow.
And so it's important what choices you make and how you deal not only with the successes, but how you deal with the bad decisions. Because as a leader, you're going to make some bad decisions. That is the truth of the matter. But how you adjust with those, that is going to be key to how good a leader you really are.
It's okay. So you know what? It is right here that I'm going to share this, and I'm glad that he and I are not in the same room because he probably would, probably try to pull out my headphones so y'all can hear me. But when we talk about bad choices, so listen, if you spend any time around us, and we're done, guys. So this is the end. I've got to tell you about the time that he decided to paint our house
Oh,
in the
God.
winter. It was the windiest day. We lived in Tallahassee, guys. This is probably 29 years ago. He decided to paint the
Oh,
house.
God.
First of all, bruh, that's not a painter. Okay, I just need to say that. Come on now, he's not a painter. But he decided to paint the house and he used a sprayer. He did. So my car was parked right in front. He didn't move the car out by the road. He left it in the driveway while he painted the car and painted the house. So my house was green, my car was burgundy, and as a result, I had green specks of paint all over my new car. I had to put that out there because I needed you guys to understand
We don't need to know that.
we
We don't
all
need
make
to.
mistakes. It's all right. It's all right, Bishop. We all make mistakes. So that is one mistake. 34 years later, I have not let him live that down. I was like,
Never.
babe, seriously. But
Never.
I just said that to make you laugh. We all make mistakes, guys. You learn from them and you live on. He never painted another house. Thank God for growth.
Never.
Thank God. And definitely my car has never got sprayed. So we are grateful that you joined us today. Hopefully you had a great time. I want to leave you with this last quote. We're going to pray, so don't jump off because we want to pray with you. Management is doing things right. Those are managers. But leadership is doing the right things. That's Peter Drucker. That's not us. That's not our quote, but I absolutely love it. So managers just hold things together, but leaders have to select. We do the right things, okay? And so we want to encourage you today as a leader. We're absolutely excited that you joined us today. We'll be back tomorrow, okay? Now listen, as I said earlier, if you like this kind of teaching, you want to interact with us, y'all, we like really fun, like especially in person. We crack on each other and all of that. You can't be married this long and be dry. You can't be in ministry together for 20 years and be dry. He is a bishop, and they did not put up our resume. I asked her to put it up a little bit so that you guys know who it is that's talking to you, so that you know that we're legit. Oh, there it is. So you can take a screenshot. You can check us out if you want to. It just talks a little bit about what we have done. And so I wanted to do that so you guys know that we're serious, okay? We're investing. We have years and years and years of experience that we're sharing with you today. If you like this, I want you to meet us here in Fort Lauderdale, December 3rd and 4th. For this leadership conference. Yes, I'm talking about it because I really want to encourage you to make the sacrifice. It's a sacrifice, I know. It's no longer a pandemic. I've been to the games. I've been to Heat games, courtside. Everywhere is full except for the house of God. I believe that that is a spiritual attack. I believe that because church is the only place where people seem to not be comfortable going, but you're everywhere else. I want you to encourage yourself. Say, I deserve to grow. I deserve to be better. I deserve to be the best. And why? Because I need to connect with other people, help them come out, bring out what's in them, and they're going to help bring out what's in me. God made us help us one to another. And I need to release this to you guys so that you understand this is about networking. This is about empowerment. This is about elevation.